It is that time of the month once again. The end and the beginning of every month is always so exciting in the book community. Everyone's releasing their wrap-up and TBR videos. I'm gonna be fully booked, haha, for the next 3 to 4 business days. Hey guys, welcome once again to another reading wrap-up. Okay, I'll stop being cheesy. It really is Christmas in July though. This month has been my best reading month of the year so far. I ended up reading a total of 10 books. I can pick them up. This might hurt. Oh god. Here they all are. I'm gonna drop them. As always, I'm gonna start with my lowest rated reads and then end with my highest rated. By the way, the order of the books isn't from like my least favorite to my favorites. The order is more so following the star rating. Does that make sense? I've grouped the books together based on the stars. And so I'll be talking about like my 4-star rated reads before my 5-star rated reads. That was a long enough explanation for a pretty simple concept. This month I ended up rating 2 books 3.5 stars, 6 4 stars, 1 4.5 star, and 1 5 star. I should have stacked these based off of how I'm gonna talk about them, but no, not Sarah. Starting off with my 3.5 star reads. First up, I have Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. Can I just say that when I finished this book, I immediately thought to myself, what in the bloody hell just happened? Sometimes with a thriller, that's a good thing. In this case, it wasn't, because I felt robbed of my time, my sanity. The first 4/5 of this book was kind of slow, and then once the last 5th hit, it was a full-on sprint to the finish line. Really, was there a point in reading the first part? I'm never getting that time back. Yeah, so the pacing of this book was just totally off, but basically we follow the point of view of Lux, and the story starts off with her going to an island with her boyfriend and 2 other girls who hired her boyfriend to sail them there. And this island isn't just any ordinary island, because for decades it has been deserted due to an incident that happened many years prior, resulting in this island being known for shipwrecks, cannibalism, and murder. I think that is all you should know when going into this thriller. I would even skip reading the synopsis if you choose to pick this up, because the synopsis is literally the first 4/5 of this book. Okay, it sounds like I didn't like this book, but I actually did. I did have a fun time reading it. The book provided entertainment. It was like a fun summer murder read. The most intriguing characters to me were the 2 girl characters who hired Lux's boyfriend, because throughout the book some of their secrets they had been hiding were revealed regarding their past and the reason why they were friends in the first place. If you hear any animals, that's because my rabbits are here. They're noisy little buns, but I love them with my whole heart. So we'll deal. If the story just followed those 2 girls, I think I would have found this thriller more enjoyable. My next 3.5 star was The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This might surprise some of you that I ended up rating this novel so low, because it seems to be that everyone and their mom loves this. This is a friends to lovers rom-com between Bree, an ex-ballerina, and Nathan, an NFL star. And to help Bree earn some extra money, Bree and Nathan strike up a deal with this company that basically entails them to fake date. Now, all of this would probably be fine between regular friends who didn't have secret crushes on each other, but no, not Nathan and Bree, because they have been secretly in love with each other ever since high school and have never revealed their true feelings for each other. So as the story progresses, they realize that fake dating may be more complicated than they once thought. My main problem with this book was that I found the storyline barely entertaining. I kept not wanting to pick up this book. Also, I felt like the characters weren't that fleshed out, resulting in me not being able to form any kind of connection to them. This was my first sports romance I've read, and I didn't really have any problem with the sports aspect. There wasn't actually too much sports talk in the first place to begin with, but I did end up learning what a cheat sheet was. Who said rom-coms can't be educational? Though if you asked me right now what it was, I couldn't tell you, but I remember I did learn what it was at one point. It just didn't stick. This book was really funny at some parts. There was definitely some good lines. Solid 3.5 fluffy rom-com. Moving on to my 5-star rated reads, let's first start off with talking about The End of Her by Sherry Lapina, one of my new favorite authors. This is a domestic thriller that follows Stephanie and Patrick, who are still adjusting to life with newborns. And although the couple is struggling with sleep deprivation and the turbulence of newborns, they are pretty happy in their life. Until one day a woman shows up from Patrick's past claiming that he murdered his first wife. Of course, Patrick claims this is untrue, but slowly Stephanie starts to question his innocence as more secrets turn up from the past. Throughout this book, you don't know whom you should trust, who is the liar, and even imagine Stephanie, the wife, is a bit of an unreliable narrator because since she is barely getting any sleep, her thoughts and supposed forgetfulness could be contributed to sleep deprivation. There's something with Sherry Lapina's writing style that you are instantly intrigued with the story and you do not want to put it down, unlike the cheat sheet. Although I really did enjoy this book, I ended up rating it 4 stars because I didn't find the final twist to be that twisty. I did like though how it alluded to something else earlier in the book, which I completely glossed over initially. I want to give a warning to anyone who picks up the Target edition of this book. Do not do what I did and read the letter from Sherry Lapina to the Target guest because she spoils like the first 100 pages of the book. I don't know why Sherry had to do that to me. Warning, skip the letter. It is not worth it. Next up we have The Gunkle by Stephen Rowley. This book follows Gup, aka gay Uncle Patrick, and after the tragic loss of Patrick's sister-in-law and his brother's rehab needs, Patrick finds himself having to become the caregiver to his niece and nephew. So the niece and nephew fly out to Palm Springs to stay with Patrick in the house he currently resides in after retiring from showbiz. So this book follows how Patrick deals with all of the troubles that come with parenting and so much more, because although this looks like a fun, fluffy summertime read from the cover, it also deals with some deeper topics such as loss, family, and identity, because not only are they dealing with that one loss, but Patrick is still dealing with the loss of his love. You could say he's going through a bit of a midlife crisis because he has quit his job and has isolated himself from everyone else. But not only does Patrick help the children, but the children help Patrick as well. There's super cute family dynamics in here. Let's move on to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I won't stay on this book for too long because I did make a whole reading vlog dedicated to this. I ended up picking this book up this month because I had been avoiding it. So I was like, Sarah, it is your time. Get your shit together. Read this book finally. I obviously ended up enjoying it though. You've all probably heard the synopsis a million times, but to those who haven't and have been living under a rock, this story follows Addie, and one night she makes a deal with the devil that enables her to live forever. But with any deal, there's always a price. In this instance, Addie is cursed with being forgotten by everyone. So even after Addie has a conversation with someone, once she leaves their line of sight, she is forgotten. Until one day, Addie meets someone who remembers her, and Addie's life is completely shattered because 300 years of being forgotten has gotten pretty lonely, but now she has her chance to leave her mark on the world and finally have a connection with someone. I forgot to read this line in the vlog, but I thought I'd read it here for y'all because it was one of my favorite quotes. Stories are a way to preserve one's life, to be remembered, and to forget. Stories come in so many forms, in charcoal and in song, in paintings, poems, films, and books. Books, she have found, are a way to live 1,000 lives, or to find strength in a very long one. I think that just sums up how we all as readers feel about books. I just feel so happy when I read that section. Now I miss reading this book. If you would like to see more of my thoughts and opinions on this, make sure to go check out my reading vlog. Where did that, oh my god, this book like slid. I have to grab it with my foot. My next 4-star read was The Best of Friends by Lucinda Berry. This is my first Lucinda Berry book and I will definitely be picking up more by her once Barnes & Noble start carrying more of her. When I got this one, I wasn't sure which Lucinda Berry I wanted to pick up, but at the Barnes & Nobles I went to, this was the last copy of any of her books there. So I'm really glad I picked this up because I did really enjoy it in the writing style, but I haven't been able to find any of her other books ever since. I don't know, I think there's just too many books in the world for Barnes & Noble to carry every book or every author. This is another domestic thriller. You might be able to see a theme with the type of thrillers I like. As weird as it might sound, I like to relate to my thrillers. That should definitely be a concern. But a lot of domestic thrillers take place in the suburbs and follow a family. Literally my life, besides when I'm not in the suburbs and I'm at college. This book follows the point of view of 3 different women who have been best friends since childhood. And now as adults, they are still close as ever and they have their own families and their own children who are friends. But one night an accident occurs that leaves one woman's son dead, another woman's son in a coma, and the other son traumatized to speak. At first, these moms try to stick together and support each other through this tragedy, but as the police investigation ensues, they start to question each other, their families, and their friendship. I love the short chapters in this book. Like, a lot of the chapters are just like 2 or 3 pages. The only problem with the writing style I had was with I would sometimes forget which women I was reading because all of the women sounded really similar. So I would have liked if the friends individually had different, more distinct voices. I also didn't find the twist in this book to be that surprising. I was a bit let down because it was something that we knew throughout the whole book could be a possibility. I kind of connected to this book though, because when I was younger, I had these 2 best friends with whom I always hung out. So I couldn't help but picture us as those moms and think about what I would have done if we were these moms in this situation. That would be so fucking terrible. Oh, my brother just got back from his side job. He sells pies. How cute, I know. He's He's like a little pie man at the farmer's market. Next up, I also rated Goodrich People 4 stars. Can we take a moment to look at the beauty that is this cover? We have two headless people standing in front of this grand staircase in this mansion, and the woman has like these rubber gloves on, so clearly some sinister shit is gonna happen in here. And that is exactly what takes place, because this story follows this rich family who has nothing better to do than to help people by letting them stay in their guest house and then fucking up their entire lives. This is a duo perspectives read. The first POV is that of the wife of this rich couple. The other is that of this homeless woman who moves into their guest house. So it was really interesting to see the juxtaposition in the POVs. This book really makes it clear how quickly money can change the way you look at life and what your priorities are. I also really enjoyed how the author was able to intertwine social commentary throughout this thriller, which you don't see every day in books. I did find the beginning a bit slow, especially since one of the characters was tasked to do something, and then it just kind of felt like they were never going to do this task because they kept putting it off. This book though really hooks you chapter after chapter, because a lot of the chapters left on a cliffhanger, but then the POVs would switch, so then you would have to read a few more chapters until you could figure out what happened, but then something else would happen and you would be left at another cliffhanger, but then the POVs would switch again. Some people might find that kind of annoying, but to me it just compelled me to read more. The last 4-star book here I have is not a thriller, but it's probably close enough. It is a whodunit murder mystery, and that is The Perfect Couple by Ellen Hilderbrand. I knew I wanted to pick up at least one Ellen Hilderbrand read this month given the amount of her books I just added to my TBR. Can you even see them? They're like right here. You can barely see them. So I was looking at her books on my shelf and I was like, which one should I pick? And this one just spoke to me off my shelf. It was like, pick me, Sarah, read me. And I said, okay book, it is your time to shine. This book takes place at a wedding on Nantucket and follows the aftermath of the murder of the maid of honor the day before the wedding. Although this is a murder mystery, there's also a really endearing romance in here, which I still don't know how to feel completely about, because the male romantic interest brought something up in the end which made me view their whole relationship differently. The book has multiple point of views, including the point of views of 2 police officers who untangle the mess of what happened. I really liked one of the police officers specifically. He was supposed to be like this hot shot guy, which made the book pretty funny because a lot of the characters were clearly smitten with him, even during an interrogation. I did think the big reveal was a bit obvious to me. I don't think it will for everyone, but just because I've read so many murder mysteries, I can usually pretty well predict what will happen. I call it the Sarah sense. Literally, when I was a child, I thought I was a psychic because my intuition was rarely ever wrong. Maybe I am. I don't know. Next up we have here my 4.5-star read, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Whenever I see this book, I always think about book talk from during the pandemic, because I think that is when this book initially blew up. I loved this read and I'm so glad I finally picked it up this month. This book follows Nora, who has many regrets in her life and she isn't really happy with how her life has turned out, which unfortunately leads her to end up at the Midnight Library. And the Midnight Library is basically this place between life and death, and it's this library that goes on for miles and miles, and it's filled with books. Each book represents a different life Nora could have had if she made different decisions, and these books enable Nora to try on and experience these different lives until she can find her so-called perfect life. But soon Nora discovers that she is under a time crunch, and if she cannot find a life that is perfect for her, then the library and herself will be in extreme danger. This book shows how little things in life can change the way it goes. If you're like me and find the butterfly effect theory interesting, then I think you would really enjoy this read. This book is also on the shorter side. It is only 285 pages, which was actually the perfect length. If it was any longer, then I think it would have gotten a bit redundant. Make sure to look up trigger warnings for this book though, or just any book in general really. Finally, the last book I have to talk about today, and the only book I ended up rating 5 stars this month, was Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. It might be pronounced Jimenez. I think it is. I'm not exactly sure. I probably should have looked that up before this video. I am really sorry. Ow, I just hit myself. I deserve that. This book was fantastic. It is a 400-page novel, but it felt like a 200-page read. I flew through this book in 2 days, and that's fast for me because a book this length would usually take me at least 3 to 4 days. I was obsessed with it. It's such a cute story. This is a rom-com that follows Alexis Montgomery, an ER doctor, and Daniel Grant, a carpenter slash innkeeper slash mayor. This man literally makes the whole damn town. So Alexis and Daniel are completely different people with entirely different lives, and one night Alexis is driving through Daniel's town and they end up having a one-night stand. But later on they discover that they clearly have deeper feelings for each other, but There are numerous reasons why they think that they shouldn't be together. This is technically an age gap romance because Daniel is 10 years younger than Alexis, but it isn't weird in any way. Like, their age gap is one of the minor barriers the couple face. You do have to suspend your disbelief at some parts in this book because Mother Nature does some crazy shit in here. Please tell me that the girl on this cover doesn't look like April Kepner from Grey's Anatomy, because to me she totally does. And also April worked as an ER doctor too, so I kind of imagined this story as April's love story. If you take anything away from this video, it should be to read this book. It deserves way more hype. We are done. Once again, here are all the books I read in the month of June. Will I be able to top the stack in July? I want to be ambitious and hope I do. This was a really good reading month, but any month where I absolutely don't hate a book I think is a good reading month. Make sure to remember that it doesn't really matter in the end how much you read in the month. Reading is more about the experience, because you could force yourself to read 20 books but you end up hating every single one of them because you didn't want to actually read in that moment but you thought you should when you're just not in the mood, and that's totally fine. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to let me know what you read this month in the comments below. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. It really does help me and my channel out a lot. I wish you all the best for reading in July. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Make sure to comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.